Hey there, Nick Jatakis here. In this video, we're going to do a live update of my Build a SAAS app with Flask course, specifically the Snake Eyes application, which is what we build. It demonstrates creating users, custom admin dashboards, it has Stripe integration for subscriptions, one-off payments, and we build this little UI here to place bets here to do some real-time updates. Now, just a heads up, this is a paid course here, but there is an open source version on Build a SAAS app with Flask here on GitHub. I'll leave a link to all the stuff here. You know, the open source version has a little bit less code than what's available in the paid course here. But yeah, normally I wouldn't make these update videos public on YouTube, but I figured, you know what, let's give it a shot here. It's been a while since I've done an update video. Let's actually see when the last one was made here. Yeah, it looks like at the end of 2023, around the time Flask 3.0 came out, that was the last update. Now we're approaching the end of 2024, Flask 3.1 came out. So, you know, now's a great time maybe to make this update video here. You know, typically, you know, there's no cadence here for the updates. Maybe it's every couple of months, maybe every half a year. It really depends on when there's some interesting things to change. So throughout this video, we're going to be updating things like all the package versions to the latest version, you know, Stripe API. We're going to update Python versions, Postgres, Redis, and maybe do some other little refactors to the application based on things that I've done over the last year or so. So without further ado here, let's get cracking here. And, you know, if you've taken the course and you know the drill here to get things up and running in development here, you know, the README file also has, you know, instructions there for the open source version as well. You know, I like to definitely make sure that all of my tests are passing here before I actually go and do some refactors. So, you know, I was running this application before, you know, this is already up and running on localhost here, port 8000. I ran the test suite, everything is good to go. This is the state of the repo where, you know, it's from the last update. So, you know, like usual, I clear out that Git history, and then we're going to have, you know, little incremental updates that we do here. So yeah, let's take here a look, and maybe one of the quick ones that we can do won't even be a real code change, I guess. It's more just like getting rid of some terminology here that is a little bit old. So I'm not sure if you're aware of this tool called Docker Toolbox, but way before Docker Desktop, which is a nice way to run Docker on macOS and Windows, as well as Linux if you want to use Docker Desktop there as well. You know, there used to be this tool called Docker Toolbox, which pulled together other tools like Docker Machine, which also created a virtual machine for you, and some other stuff just to make it a little bit easier to run Docker on macOS and Windows. But you know, this is something that's been deprecated or hasn't been updated or used in many, many years now. And I think having this in the comments here is a little bit confusing, especially for folks just getting into Docker or working with any Dockerized application nowadays. So yeah, let's just like remove this as a comment here. You know, if you're using Docker Toolbox, blah, 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 this is being overwritten. Okay. You know, I guess we can just get rid of that line entirely here. In fact, actually, you know, it's kind of funny. I do have this other open source project, this Dockerized Flask application. And then like typically the way my workflow is like, I'll be using Flask applications in production, and, you know, I'll be monitoring things there and make sure things work good. And once they work good, they're stable, you know, I'm happy with something like that. I throw them into this example Docker Flask application, let that run for a while, see how it goes, you know, make some mental notes of some of the stuff that I've done updates for, and then I'll go ahead and just roll them back into the course update here. Because, you know, I want the course updates to be, I guess, the most stable type of updates, because it's like, you know, really based on things going through the ringer in production, as well as maybe going in some open source stuff as well. So I actually did this little refactor of changing around that. And where was that one? Was it under, let's see. So basically I'm just going to copy paste the comment from here just so we don't have to like figure out what we can do, you know, writing a whole new comment from scratch. So yeah, I'm just going to paste that one over in, and we can do a git diff here and take a look here at what changed. You know, basically just removing that sentence or two about Docker Toolbox, just, yeah, renaming things a little bit, you know, adding some context here. But yeah, okay, cool. So let's do that, and we'll do a git add p here. Yep, we'll add that, and then we'll just say commit here, like remove reference to Docker Toolbox in a comment. Yep, we don't need that, that's for sure. Another change that we can do, another small minor one, would just be renaming this docker-compose.yml file to compose.yaml. And again, this has been a part of the Docker Compose specification for some time now. It's not a big deal. You know, the Docker Compose client or the binary there does support both file names here. But again, if you're brand new to Docker, searching some documentation, and you see all these documentation examples referencing compose.yaml instead of docker-compose.yaml, then, you know, that could be a little bit confusing, right? So it's kind of nice just to have a consistent setup in your projects here to match what's in the documentation here. But I don't anticipate that docker-compose.yaml functionality going away for quite some time. But yeah, let's do git add a here because we're going to be, you know, adding or renaming a file here. So let's say, you know, rename docker-compose.yaml to compose.yaml. And actually, I wonder, it's been a while since I did this commit, but I actually think there might be a reference to that in this file as well. Yep, so let's just change this to be compose.yaml. And also go back to here, we'll do a git add a or -p here, there's a change here. It's now going to be compose.yaml. Notice there is an A that is on purpose. That's how it's defined in the specification here. And then we can just do a commit amends, no edit here, because we're just amending that last commit that we made, and we're not going to be editing the message here. So now if we do a get show, then yeah, we should have that change to the comment there, as well as the rename of the file itself. Now the project's already running here, but yeah, I mean, now we can just do, Control C if you want, just to see this functionality work. We should be able to run a Docker Compose up, and then yeah, this should still, look for this file here, and it is going to work. And then we can go back to our page here. We're not going to rerun the test suite here, but yeah, nothing failed. So actually, it's kind of funny I say that, and then the assets don't load, but that just takes a couple of seconds here because this project is still using Webpack. I know, we are going to update it to use Tailwind. I think at that point in time, I will be just re-recording the entire course. I know I've said that in a couple update videos, but eventually it will be done. I swear it will. But okay, so 2 extremely small refactors there. What else could we do? Well, if we go to the, let's go to the Gunicorn config file. And, if we go actually to the requirements of text file first, we are using a decently modern version of Gunicorn. Maybe there's a slightly newer one. I don't know. We're going to update all of these dependencies in a bit here. But, quite a few different folks have mentioned that in production, they were seeing their Gunicorn workers timeout. And honestly, I don't know why. Maybe I'm like the luckiest guy on earth. I don't know. But I have never experienced that problem in production. But it has been reported by enough people that I feel like that needs to be addressed. So I went Googling around and kind of just seeing, what other folks are saying about this. And there's definitely a whole bunch of different GitHub issues that have different comments, and some are closed. And yeah, there's a lot of talk around that one. And actually, if I go back to here, I believe I do have a setup here or a commit here where I added a timeout value to Gunicorn. So let's go and take a look at that. And that's going to be here. Yeah, so this timeout here is just set to 120 seconds by default. So let me go and grab that, we'll bring that over. Whoops. Ignore that string tuple thing. But yeah, let's go ahead and just add this over here. So we're going to expose a new environment variable that can be tweaked in the env file. If we don't define it, this new web timeout, then it's going to default to 120 seconds. This should help with requests timing out. I also noticed too that, if you go to the env example file, that when you have your web concurrency set to 1 with this timeout setting, then things are going to get pretty bad in development, where this is where I was able to replicate the behavior. So if you have your web concurrency set to 1 and you have a timeout value set, then I have noticed that requests were timing out. They basically were just hanging. And then I had to Control C things and Docker Compose up, and it was super annoying. But yeah, what we could do here, now that we're setting that timeout value, is just remove this line entirely. And now it's going to default to whatever the web concurrency happens to be. And by the way, this comment should be updated too. So let's quickly go here and back to the env file example, because I know I have another comment here as well for this one, just rewording how that one was set here. I basically got rid of, mentioning that we should use 1 by default here. Whoops, didn't mean to open that. Not a big deal. But okay, where am I at? Over here. Cool. So, this one mentions that, in development, it's a good idea to use 1 to avoid race conditions with debuggers, but we're going to remove that line here. But yeah, so again, all we're doing here, we're just commenting this out. So it's going to use the default value. And if you go to the Gunicorn config file, the default value when you don't set web concurrency is going to be the number of CPU cores that you have times 2. Now, we're living in a world where in development, you probably have more CPU cores than your server potentially. You might have 8 CPU cores, and then times 2 is 16 workers running in development, might be a little bit noisy in your logs. So if you find this default to be a little bit too crazy in development, or maybe even production, if you have a monster box and you just want to limit that, you can go here and just set this something to 2 or 4, or some value that isn't 1, and that's smaller than maybe the max that you have here. And then also, now that we're here, we need to actually add a new timeout value there for the web timeout. If I go here, I just added it here too as well. So we can do that and then paste that in and take a look. So yeah, configure the timeout value. Right now it is defaulting to 120 seconds here. So we don't need to actually do anything. We don't want to comment or uncomment that because, we have that already set there. Now, keep in mind, I'm doing all these updates here in my env example file. There is also the real env file here, which, if you actually do want to adjust these settings here, you'll want to do that in your real env file because this is the one that's ignored from version control. But yeah, that's it for this one. So we went into this Gunicorn here, add the new timeout. Let's go ahead and commit these changes here. So let's do a git add p here and just see what's changed. So yep, we added this new defaulting to whatever it is by default here, add the new environment variable, and then we also just added this timeout here, which is going to be an integer value. Notice that we're doing the int call after we either get the default or we get the one from the environment variable. So let's say expose Gunicorn timeout value as an environment variable. Cool. So now if we take a look here at our git log, what have we done? Well, we removed a very basic comment. We just renamed the file, and then we also just did that. And I think that's pretty much all the small, tiny refactors to the project over the last year or so. This project already was pretty up to date. It's using Docker Compose profiles and all that other stuff here. But now maybe we can focus on updating some of the package dependencies, because I'm sure after a year or so, there's been quite a few different versions that we want to update. I'm always a fan of doing like version updates of the packages here before I go ahead and like update a major or minor Python version. Version 3.12 to 3.13 could introduce some breaking changes and whatever. And I usually find in practice that having the latest versions of the libraries will help you gain compatibility to run with a later version of Python. And then after that, we can update something like Postgres and Redis to the latest versions, and maybe the Stripe API as well. See if we need to do any code changes for anything. And then yeah, we'll call it a day. So what can we do now? Well, we can run a pip3 outdated here, which is going to give us a list of all the Python dependencies that we have, and then go off on PyPy and take a look to see what the latest versions are. And then we will see if we need to update some. Now, this is taking a little bit longer than I thought it would run. All right, fine. Let's also zoom in so we get some more room here. So yeah, it looks like there are a whole bunch of different package dependencies. Not all of them are defined in our requirements.txt. Some of these are in the lock file, which are basically dependencies of dependencies, if you were to run something like a pip freeze. But yeah, okay, so let's go ahead and just copy all of this, or at least that's what I'm going to do here. What could I do? So I can split that here, and I'm just going to dump these on the bottom just so I can look at two things at once. And then, yeah, from here, we're just going to like look at this line and then update things over here. For Alembic, for example, it's 1.14.0. I'm literally like using my eyes to look at this middle column here. And then black is going to be 2410, fine. And 2410.0, yes. And then we have celery, which is going to be 5.40. Coverage is the dependency of dependencies. Same thing with deprecator. What about faker? Faker needs to be updated to 33.0. Wow, we're jumping like 1,000 versions on that one. I wonder if there's some new things to look out for there. So then we have Flake 8. That's going to be up here where we do all our, I kind of name this idea of like quality, static analysis on your code base. So Flake 8 is going to be, what's it going to be? 7.1.1. And again, we've done this in previous update videos where like, if this is our bigger application in production, maybe you can update a couple dependencies at a time instead of all of them. But in this case, we're going to one-shot all of them here and just see where we get. And we have Flask 3.1. There's an update there for Flask. FlaskDB, did that change? Yes, it did. So that's an actual library that I wrote here. Yeah, Flask debug toolbar. We have some nice version updates there. That project is now being maintained, which is kind of nice. Then we also have Flask limiter 3.80. All right. Maybe we can also rename Flask debug toolbar to be its proper name. That could be good. Not a big deal, but again, why have it in lowercase when the real project name is named like that? And we have Flask mail. Holy cow, Flask mail. Congratulations, you have an update. It's been a really long time. I know it's been literally a year since that project has been maintained. So who's ever doing some patches on that one, that is very nice. And we'll go and take a look there to see if we need to do any code changes or whatever. Flask login. Looks like that didn't change. No, because I was looking over here to see like, well, it's also in this list, but I don't see it there. Flask.digest 401 Flask.digest. Okay. I kind of wonder what I did there. We'll check the change log in a bit here. But yeah, Flask WTF here. Where is that one over here? 1.21 is now 1.22. Cool. I'm also going to start removing some stuff from this list because it's getting pretty long. Gunicorn is also going to be updated to version 23.0. Okay, interesting. Two major version bumps there. Jinja is going to be updated as well. PsychoPG 3.23. Where is PsychoPG? Yep, 3.23. And again, just a heads up if you haven't been going through all the update videos, maybe you're new on YouTube, there's also a PsychoPG2 library. This is PsychoPG, which is actually version 3. So they have different Python package version names there. So we have PyTest 8.33, where is the testing section here? Cool, okay. Thankfully, when we do all these updates here, if things work, we only need to rebuild our Docker image once. So, once we do this process, it's going to be pretty quick, hopefully. PyCov is also going to be 6.0. Again, that's a pretty big update. Let's see what happens there. And Redis 5.20, that's over here. And where are we at here? Setup tools. Yeah, it's not in here yet. Spoiler alert, we are going to need to add that one when we, actually, you know what? I'm pretty sure this image is going to get rebuilt and break. So with that said, let's just add setup tools directly. So, I should mention here, Python 3.12 got rid of being able to have this one dist-utils package. Like, for example, in our settings file, we were using the string to bool function that no longer exists in Python 3.12. However, the Docker image for version 3.12 held on to that package setup tools for a while. It actually installed it for you on your behalf, but they got rid of that sometime, I think it was August in 2024 or whatever. So if you were rebuilding this Docker image, then things would break. But in this case, when we rebuild our image, I believe that is going to give us a newer version of the base image for version 3.12 because we're not using SAAS there in our base Docker image. Again, this is starting to get abstract here. But yeah, over here, this is the version that we have. We're not using, we're not locking this into a specific digest to actually always get the same version. So in other words, I think setup tools won't be there when we rebuild, which is going to break. So let's actually add it here, which should be good. Okay, so we have that. And then SQL Alchemy needs to be updated to version, there's a lot of versions here, 2.36, okay. Actually, I'm gonna start cleaning up some of this stuff now. Utils also needs to be changed to this, and then we have Stripe, also jumping a lot of versions here, but they're usually pretty good with backwards compatibility. Then we have validators library. I feel like this was maybe put here and not updated on purpose. I'm gonna hold off on that one, but we'll say, this is the latest version, just so we have a heads up if we need to go back here and update this one later. I know some email validation tests were failing when I was updating that validators package or something related to that, but let's see. Okay, so Verxoig also needs to be updated to 3.13. And then we have WT Forms, which is going to be somewhere over here. That's going to be 3.21. And then finally, WT Forms components, which is going to be 11.0. Okay, cool. So now we have a nice up-to-date requirements file. Let's go ahead and just go and rebuild things. So we're going to use the convenience script that we have here to run like a run pip3 install. That's going to install all of our, dependencies, and it's also going to write out a new lock file for us, which we have here. But yeah, I've gone over how that works in previous update videos. I don't know if I ever did a dedicated video on that one on YouTube. I think I may, maybe not. But yeah, in any case, we have this pip install shell script here. We're not going to go over the whole script, but yeah, this is handling things. And the Docker, that little run script calls a Docker build, but it also makes sure that the container actually gets run with a volume mount so that after it's finished building, then the requirements lock file that's built into the Docker image gets reflected back to your file system here. But yeah, okay, so what had happened here? Oh, interesting. This depends on validators 0.21. Okay. I don't know if we should just try 21 or just go straight to 34. Let's just go straight to 34 and see if our tests pass. And if not, we'll deal with maybe like going back down to a lesser version. And let's actually keep this tab open here to make sure that we're not getting any like immediate failures here trying to rebuild things. And, if this starts to take a little bit too long, I run out of things to ramble, then I'll just cut the video and then we'll resume when this thing finishes building. But yeah, this will probably just take a couple of minutes maybe to build. But yeah, again, just as to recap, after all of these packages are updated, we're going to run our test suite, poke around the application, make sure things are still working. And then once we're happy with all the package version updates, then we'll go in and start updating things like the Python version and Postgres and Redis and stuff like that. I would imagine usually, Postgres and Redis are going to be pretty easy updates. You typically don't have too big of a problem there. Although I will say if you're going to be updating these things in production, then yeah, Postgres, you may want to end up exporting your database out and then updating Postgres to a new version, let's say version 16 to 17, and then go ahead and import in your database afterwards. So, depending on your setup, you may have a little bit of downtime there. There's other different ways to do that as well, but that's like the most straightforward way, I guess you can say. But in development, we're literally just going to do a docker compose down v, blow out the whole volume, and then recreate everything. But yeah, this is actually almost done now. Let's see, cool, it's writing out the lock file, and now we have the new lock file on disk here, and yep, there it is. Okay, let's first see if things work before we start committing stuff, because if we're going to do code changes as well with this, we should probably put that in the same commit as doing the actual version updates. So with that said, let's do a docker compose up and then probably see the whole entire world break. What do we need to change code-wise? Or did like 11 months of updates just work? Now, that over here is a normal deprecation warning from Webpack. I mean, it's looking like it's working so far. Yeah, here's the application that's loaded. If I go to like my user account here for settings, everything is set up here. Okay, let me go and try to buy some coins here. Name on card, normal junk data here for Stripe testing stuff, expiration date, and then CVC123. So I just bought 100 coins for $1. This redirect is occurring. Now I have 100 more coins. Let's do some bets here. Looks like I'm losing. Why? Because literally rolling snake eyes, you'd have to roll a 1 and a 1. That's pretty uncommon. But what about a 7? I lost again, and I lost again. And I'm trying to go slow here because, this application does have rate limiting in place here too. Now we need to wait for this thing to expire, which it did. But yeah, in any case, this is looking pretty good. Let's actually go real quick and just go to the settings here. I'm just going to go ahead and subscribe to the bronze plan here and just see how this works. Cool. Let's do another fake credit card, because those coins that we just bought were a one-off thing that you can do, but you can also subscribe and then pay per month for things. So here's payments being processed here. Cool. So now I'm actually subscribed. If I go to the billing details here, you can see some stuff here. I did play around a little bit ahead of time before I did any updates here to make sure that things actually worked. So that's why we have some billing history here. But yeah, this is actually looking pretty good. Let's actually really make sure things work by running a test suite, because again, manually poking around your site is nice to do some sanity checks, but you probably want to have a test suite that actually runs and exercises hitting a whole sorts of different combinations of stuff in your code that may pick out some errors and things that need to be changed, if some of these tests start to fail. And I don't want to jinx it, but it's looking pretty good so far. Yeah, and that is looking pretty nice. And actually, if we do another run, there is a test coverage command here that we can run as well. In case you've never seen the output for that one, we can take a look here just to see the actual test coverage of the code base itself, right? Like what files are being tested, what files have some maybe code paths that aren't being tested, right? Maybe lines like 30 to 45 in this one file isn't tested, but yeah, this will give us some percentage to be like, oh, wow, there's 68% of your code base is tested or something. I don't know the exact percentage that we're going to get here, but we're going to see in about 5 seconds or 10 or whatever. But yeah, we can see here too that our code base has 83% test coverage. Most of the files have, 100% test coverage. Some of them have a little bit less here. It really depends. Some of the ones that have a little bit lower test coverage, it's like, yeah, well, I can't really test subscriptions here, unless I were to really call out to Stripe's API. So in this case, in our test suite, we actually have JSON responses from Stripe that are being used and mocked into our test there. So that's why the test coverage is a little bit lower on that. Same thing with the Stripe webhook. But in any case, yeah, this is actually looking pretty good. So let's go ahead and just do get add A here, and we'll say, what are we doing? So update all Python package dependencies. I'm real happy that email validation is working as well, because I know that was a nuisance before. So I guess maybe they fixed that in their changelog. But I did promise that we're going to go and look at what actually changed in Flask DB. Yep, here's that. If I go to my own repo here. And then also we have Flask static digest. Flask static digest, if I can even spell. Again, not even super important, but I'm actually just curious. What did I add 100 years ago? But this is also the value of having a nice changelog with a project. So yeah, okay. So the digest host URL, if you happen to have multiple // in it, and now it works. So cool. There's good to know for that. And then here in the changelog, what did I do? Oh yeah, so I just installed setup tools here. It's not even a change for anything. So in fact, it looks like setup tools would have probably already been installed if we didn't explicitly install it in our requirements.txt file, because that package would have installed it for you. Okay, whatever. So if we go back to here, yep, we're in a good spot. Now let's go and update the Python version to its latest version. By the way, I should mention too, if you're interested, what changed with Flask. So if we do, it looks like I closed that for the PyPy page. What happened to it? I'm just dying not to type in my history here, but I guess I am, and I'll just blur it out later. But yeah, if we do Flask 3.1 changelog, we can take a look here. I actually looked at this some time ago. But yeah, we can see there's not a whole massive amount of changes, but there are some interesting ones here. For example, the secret key fallback is pretty interesting. So, we have this secret key environment variable here, right in our env file. I'll open up the example file for now. But yeah, if we take a look here, that secret key, and of course, I have an insecure one set for dev, but this is going to control things like, cookies are going to be signed with this. And if you were to change that, then it would invalidate things for all of your users there. But now you can actually set a fallback key. If you follow the pull request here, there's some documentation on how to do this one, but yeah, you can do that so that you can actually re-roll your secret key. Maybe it gets compromised, but you also don't need to disrupt all of your user sessions and other things that depend on having that key. So that is pretty nice here too. But yeah, okay. Now that we have that set up, we are going to update Python to the latest version here, and then take a look here at the Docker file. So I already know that the version is 3.13.0, but again, let's just go to the Docker Hub here and confirm that, yep, there's the alpha version for 3.14 or maybe a release candidate or whatever. We're not going to do that, that's for sure, but we can definitely update to 3.13.0 or at least die trying. So Let's do that here. And there's no lock file for this one, so I'm just going to go ahead and do a Docker Compose build here, and that should give us the latest version. All right, so let's do that. And, up here we have a multi-stage build. This is using Node. We're not going to bother updating the Node version because, this project does happen to use Webpack, and we are going to eventually update to ES build. I've mentioned that in a few update videos where if that were to happen, at some point there's been so many updates to this course that really it kind of needs to be re-recorded from scratch. There's like other things that I would also put in here too as well. Because this thing was released quite a few years ago, but it is up to date, incrementally. But at this point in time, there's literally more hours of bonus updates than there are of like the main content of the course, which is a good indicator to be like, yeah, okay, fine, you got me. Let's re-record. But let's first see if this thing actually built or is building. Cool, because since we changed the up here in our Docker file, all these other layers are going to be invalidated, so it needs to run through all this stuff, and eventually we'll get to the bottom here where it's going to run our application. But yeah, let's see. Oh, going back to the terminal, wrong tab. Let's just wait. All right, so this is getting pretty close to being done here. Nice. And now let's do a Docker compose. Let's do it down just to, remove some old containers, get a fresh start, run a compose up. Database is still there. I didn't do it down V. But yeah, okay, so there's our deprecation warnings for that. Let's run the test suite and see if things work. Okay, well, let's just run with test coverage. It's still going to be running the tests, and we'll see if things work. And while the test suite is running, we'll actually go and maybe reload the page here. Everything is nice, cool, okay. I'm not going to go crazy in here, but yeah, we are loading pages here. Let's actually create a coupon. Maybe we'll use that for later. So we have this coupon here. It's going to last forever. Max redemptions, let's just say 2. It could be anything. It doesn't need to be anything. We can also pick a date and time if you want to have a redemption there. Let's just use the defaults here and just add that and see what happens. Cool. Nice. So this actually created a coupon that we can then use for our subscriptions or, things like that. But let's go back here and see. All right. Well, this is pretty optimistic. Like everything actually is working, which is pretty cool. Let's go and update Postgres and Redis as well. But let's first do a git add a here just to see what changed. Yep, we just updated Python to version 3.13.0. Nice. And then we can go to our compose.yaml file here and we update Postgres. Right now it's at 16.1 and Redis is 7.2.3. We'll do these one at a time in different commits here, but the latest version of Postgres is 17.1 and Redis is 7.4.1. We're not going to mess with version 8 just yet. So 17.1, okay. And then what was Redis again? Redis was, 7.4.1, okay. 7.4.1. And again, it's pretty interesting. This is the value of Docker, right? You just want to run Redis on, part of your project. You just add it as a service. You have it, you can reference it and start using it. It's pretty nice. But yeah, okay. So let's do this and Docker compose down V because we're going to blow out our entire volume here. And then we'll also see like how to actually start up this project for real from the beginning. Okay. And now it's going to maybe pull down. Well, in your case, if you don't already have versions 17.1 for Postgres and that version of Redis, then it's going to pull them down from the Docker Hub first. I actually have other projects using those versions, so I already had them locally. But yeah, okay. Let's go and take a look here at the README file. Yeah, we can just, we don't need to do a build, blah, 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 but we do need to restart our database. So let's do that because, our database just got removed entirely when we did a compose down V. That removed the volume for everything. But yeah, now that we have our database reset here, then we can just add some fake data and do some other stuff as well. Let's actually run quality. Well, actually, yeah, I'll just do it because it's been a while since it's been run. But yeah, this is actually going to use the faker package to go ahead and generate a whole bunch of fake data. In fact, I think it's a good idea that we run this command here because, if you remember in that requirements, that text file, we updated faker like, 100 different versions or something. But yeah, in this case, it created 100 different users, a whole bunch of different bets and invoices. We'll check that out in a second here. Let's just do run quality here to see, make sure Flake 8 and Black and things didn't rename some stuff or, maybe they changed some of the rules here and it looks like they did. So we did some updates on those packages and now our linting tools are failing because we need to maybe reformat some things a little bit different way. Okay, that's not a problem. So what should we do first? Well, let's first commit the change that we did for Postgres. Do a git add p here on compose.yaml. We'll do Postgres here. Quit that one out because we'll make a second commit for that one. So this one we can just do a one-liner because we know it's not going to be too long of a commit message. Update Postgres to version 17.1. And then let's do another add p here. And this one is going to be update Redis to 7.41. And, Celery is using Redis as a backend, and it's also for the rate limiter as well. Okay, what do we need to do now? We need to maybe do a git diff and just see what changed for the code formatting stuff. So, okay, so it made, these go from single quotes to double quotes. Okay, just rename or just decided to reformat things. This is Black, by the way, the Python code formatter. It reformatted that automatically for us, which is quite nice. But we still do need to, let's just do a run quality again, just to make sure that those files aren't going to get reformatted again. But we do have some issues here where we have trailing white space in added foo in database versions. Okay. I feel like this is an old file that didn't exist. It doesn't need to exist because we're not, in a previous update video, I demonstrated adding a column with an index, but then we don't actually have that column being used anywhere. So this file technically doesn't even need to be here. Yeah, there's no model references to this anymore. And I'm not saying we just delete the file to get rid of the warning, but this trailing white space on, what's the actual line? Line 4? Oh, yeah, so, okay. And I also have my code editor here set up. So this red block that you see here, that's actually a white space character that's now removed. You can see that changed here, and that's going to fix that. But yeah, this file actually doesn't need to be here, so we're going to remove this file. Okay, and then we also have local variable response is assigned but never used in test views. So test views for what? For user. Okay, so user test views, that's going to be line 368. Line 368. So we have a response here. Oh yeah, so yeah, this is figure out why this test fails but works in a browser. So that was an exercise to the reader from a previous update. But yeah, in this case here, it was using the response, right? This variable here, but now it's not using the response. So, that's why we're getting that warning here. It's just telling us, hey, by the way, you've got this variable defined, but you're never using it. Maybe you don't even need to assign it to a variable or do whatever. But in this case, we actually do want to use this one. So I'm going to do an ignore of this one. So you can do, what is this? You make a comment here called no QA, and then you put in the code that you want to ignore. And now in this case, we can run quality again and see what happens. Now it's probably going to complain about the line being too long. Wait, what? Hold on, that got reformatted fine. Okay. What happened here though? This should have, all right, hold on. Let me rerun it again. F841, is that not how you ignore? No QA. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's two spaces there. Is it no space here? No, I'm pretty sure there is one. Okay, hold on. We're going to have to Google how to ignore something with Flake 8. So let's go how to ignore Flake 8 error. I could have sworn it was that. I mean, I've been wrong plenty of times, but let's see. God, Stack Overflow. An inline comment should have worked for this one. Am I missing something? Because you can see here, it's no QA and then the error code here. But then they're asking a different question here, I guess. But, well, it's not super important, but I'm still curious why that isn't working because this should have worked. Yeah, there's two spaces there, no QA colon space, and then the code. What am I missing? Am I that broken today? Yeah, I don't know, actually. Let's leave that one for another time. But yeah, in this case here too, we can get rid of this warning here. And let's just do a git add a. And then actually we're going to do an add dash a after we do a get status here. But yeah, let's just see. Because there might be some other, yeah, no, we're good actually. So yeah, reformat code for Blake 8 or Black Blake 8. It's just Black. Okay. This also removes an unused foo migration from a previous code update. Okay, there's that. And all right, we're getting pretty close. I guess the next step here would be to go ahead and update the Stripe API version to the latest version. So if we go to the settings.py file here, there is a Stripe version set somewhere, which is version this. So Stripe uses, year, month, day as their API version, and you can lock that down to a specific version, which is quite nice. But let me go and find where Stripe's API guide is here. Again, links to all these things will be in the README file of, this update video. And then, yeah, for YouTube, sure, I'll throw a couple of these in the description as well. But yeah, this is Stripe's documentation for their API. So if you go here, there's a massive change log just showing, major and minor changes for different versions. But, we were using version from August 2022. So if we scroll up, here, this is the version that we have, right? I think it's August 1st, 2022, August 1st, 2022. And now we want to update to the latest stable version of their API. So we're going to be updating to this version and then to this version here, and then another one, and then, basically all the way to the top until we get to, actually don't know what that is, but let's avoid that one and we'll just like stick with this. And yeah, we don't need to update these like one at a time, but if you actually have a code base that is using Stripe, then it is really important, like really important, that you go through each of these individual change logs to see if any of the things that you use are going to change based on updating to a specific version. So if you were to use payment intents or setup intents here and update to this one, this is a major one now, there's like automatic payment methods enabled by default and all sorts of different things here. But in our case here, we're actually not using payment intents. We are using the old charge API. And again, when I do a course re-record, we will be using payment intents. But in this case, let's just see if there's anything interesting happening with charges that we might need to change. So we're already using this one successfully. Charges no longer auto expands refunds by default. That's fine for us because in the code base currently, there's no admin page to handle a refund. So the charge API, including refunds or not in there, doesn't affect us in any way. Yeah, and payment intents we're not using here in the, okay, again, yeah, that also doesn't apply to us. We're not using the accounts API. And again, we can go over this stuff in more detail or less detail, but in my case, I'm kind of just skimming it. Like we're not using that, so that doesn't matter. No cost orders, checkout sessions, we're not using here. Payment method, yeah, we're not using that as well. Payment intents, nope. Accounts API, nope. What else is here? Okay. So then we have a lot of little changes here. Accounts API, we're not using that. We can skip that. Again, accounts API. Yeah, so there's no interesting things to think about there. Again, we're not using payment intents here. Invoices are now migrated under rendering. Fields under rendering options. So we're not customizing our invoice using rendering options, so we don't need to worry about that one. Yeah, we're also not using products in that way. So let's see what else is here. Okay, new values have been added to issuing authorization. Yeah, we're not using that in the project here. Okay, undocumented fleet fields. Yeah, this is again like something we're not even using. All right, capabilities API, also not using that as well. And was that it, or is that one more? No, that is it. Okay, so we can actually just grab this version here and drop it in. Now, the interesting thing about this is, as mentioned before, the test suite doesn't actually call out using Stripe's test keys. Those things are mocked out JSON values that are being returned. So this will be really important that we actually go and test some stuff manually to make sure all the Stripe functionality that we have still works. So what we could do here is if we do a run, what are we going to do? We're going to do a run Flask, right? And then Stripe, and then this should give us a couple different commands. These are custom command line scripts that we have here that are part of the project here. They're just using click with Flask to make them available under the Flask subcommands here. But yeah, we want to test to make sure that we can list plans that we currently have already, which is going to be like that bronze and silver and platinum and stuff. This is actually calling out to Stripe's API to get the details about those plans here. Not important that we go over all of them, right? But that's how that works here. But yeah, if we actually go and take a look at some of the other commands that we can run, we should be able to run delete plans, which is going to delete all the plans from Stripe's your account there. Again, be real careful. I've got my test keys in the env file. Make sure you have yours there as well. Here, let's go to sync plans, and that's going to take all the plans that you have in this dictionary here and sync them up to Stripe. And cool. So that actually looks like it's working. Let's go and do a list plans here to make sure that we actually get back what we saw before, which is details about our plans. All right, nice. Now let's go to our application here and oh, okay. So this has nothing to do with Stripe. So this is because I blew out the database completely. And right now there is a cookie set in my browser that needs to be deleted. We are going to application cookies here, and we'll delete this one and the remember token. Sure. And yeah, the other stuff doesn't really matter with Stripe, but this will log me out here. Yeah, cool. So now I'm just going to sign in with the usual information here. And in this case, I'm getting redirected back to the admin coupons code because that's where it was before. So yeah, let's create a new coupon here. That's good functionality. This actually will, demonstrate we can use coupons at Stripe here. Let's keep the max redemptions empty here. It's going to last forever. It doesn't really matter with those details here. But now that we've got this coupon here, let's go and, let's place a bet. Well, yeah, the test will get that one. Oh, I actually can't wager more than I actually have. So you can see I have 100 coins here, but I can't wager, 5,550. So let's just wager 4. And looks like I lost again because snake eyes. Cool. Okay. But what are we actually going to do? Well, let's buy more coins. And we can put in the coupon code here, 50% off. So let's buy, 10,000 coins here for $70. This should be a $35 transaction because it's going to be half of that. So let's put in some of our fake details here for the cards and then see where we're at here. Nice. All right. Now we've got, there's our 10,000 and now we can wager. Let's see if I actually win. Did I win? No, I'm losing so much. And again, and again, and again. And you can see it all updating here. These are my wagers and me losing there. But yeah, in this case here, if we go to the billing details here, we can see we just made a purchase here with this Visa card here for $35 because it used that coupon code that we had set up there. Okay, let's go to the settings though and just demonstrate that this still works here too. So let's sign up for the gold subscription here. There's the AA, whatever, some fake information on the card. And yeah, okay, there's that. Now I'm part of this here, and cool. If we go to payment information, you can also update your card details if you need to. You can put in your new card number, different names on cards and stuff like that. Here's more billing details here. We can see subscription details. After the free trial is over, then it is going to go and subscribe us to the gold plan here at $5 a month. I didn't apply the coupon for that, but if I want to go to the coupons here, and then we go back to here, we can go and update our plan and then pop in a coupon and be like, okay, cool, let's actually update to the platinum plan, which will be $5 a month now because the coupon is applied, so it's half. And now if we go to the billing details here, we can see there's the platinum one and then it's $5 a month. Normally it's 10 without the coupon, but because if we go back to here and we go to change plan, we can see that, I'm currently subscribed to that one for 5 and the coupon is automatically applied there, but here you can see it's $10 normally without that coupon. Yeah, this is actually looking pretty good. That's a Stripe functionality. Here's a whole bunch of different users. We added a couple hundred of them when we were in that faker command. This looks to be all nice. There's a couple of admins here. And yeah, there's a dashboard showing some different things around payouts and users and what subscriptions you have. I think that's going to be a wrap for this one. So it really wasn't that painful. As you can see, we just updated a couple of different versions for different things, but we really didn't have to go in to our application and change code to reflect that, which is quite nice. I know in some of the previous update videos, it was a lot more involved. But yeah, with that said, if you have any questions about the course or any of these updates, let me know in the YouTube comments below. And of course, if you take the course, feel free to email me, open up a post in the discussion board there, do whatever you need to do. And on that note, yeah, if you liked the video, please give a thumbs up. It really does help a lot. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.